Hi, welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region.
Hello and welcome, I'm Dub Craig. Later I'll be chatting with Trina Gower, whose husband is Dawson Creek Firefighter Captain Brooks Gower. Captain Gower continues to recover after he was hit by a passing vehicle when he was responding to a crash near Groundbirch late last month. We'll hear Trina's sort of side of things and how Captain Gower's recovery is going.
But first, here in Northeast BC, wildfires are a constant present throughout the summer. Even in the winter months, though, they can still simmer underneath the surface to return later. To tell us more about these wildfires is Emily Baker, an information officer with the BC Wildfire Service. Emily, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing well. Hi, viewers.
Wonderful. Why don't we just start? We're not into necessarily overwintering fire season entirely. Just looking back, how did the 2025 wildfire season look for the Prince George Fire Zone?
The Prince George Fire Zone, we had 345 fires this year, amounting to over 700,000 hectares burnt. This is 82% of the total hectares burnt throughout the entire province. Of those 345 fires, 321 have been called out. So we have 24 fires still on the landscape right now.
Okay, and do those fires necessarily, will they become overwintering fires? At what point do they kind of change from a wildfire to an overwintering fire?
We describe overwintering fires as a fire that burns throughout the winter and follows into the spring. In terms of depending how many fires will become overwintering, there's a few factors at play. One of the main components being the moisture content in the forest floor. If we were to chunk the forest floor into 3 layers, we have our fine fuel moisture code, our duff moisture code, and our drought code. Our fine fuel moisture code is the pine needles, the small litter you see on the ground, the twigs, the kindling. All of this bounces back very easily with a little bit of precipitation, but under the surface of the floor, we have our duff moisture code and the drought code. So the duff moisture code is all of that organic material underneath the surface of the floor. That, alongside with the drought code, which is our deep compact soil, those codes are indicators of the dryness and the availability of the forest floor to burn. So that, alongside the volume of fuel available, the drought conditions going into the fall, along with the amount of rain and snow that we receive, those are all factors that go into if a fire is going to overwinter or not.
Okay. And are there any kind of early indicators for being able to observe a fire and know if it has become an overwintering fire? Are there any candidates that you can kind of look at from the season that maybe are big enough or have another indicator that you can safely assume it will probably become an overwintering fire?
There are a lot of challenges with the unprecedented drought in the Northeast. For example, to shed light on this year, Fort Nelson responded to 91 wildfires. 44 of those were overwintering from the 2024 season. So this, combined with the drought, dries out the waterlogged muskeg and the peat, and so the Northeast is a very high concern for overwintering fires.
Okay, and they're a higher concern for them. Are they common, or do they crop up elsewhere in the province, or is it something that's kind of almost unique to the Northeast?
So far, Prince George Fire Center is the only fire center who has dealt with overwintering fires, and we have been dealing with them since 2022.
Okay, and so you've been dealing with them since 2022. How do you monitor a fire that burns underground even when there's feet of snow on top of it? What does that look like?
Yeah, it's tricky. We use satellite imagery along with aircraft remote sensing in order to map and locate heat signatures. However, like you mentioned, yeah, with the heavy snow, it's difficult to find a heat signature underground during those winter months. And so we assume that every wildfire that was not previously extinguished has the potential to be overwintering. So right now we have 24 on the board that may overwinter.
Okay. And what happens once the snow kind of clears and it's a little warmer? How do these fires then crop up if they're just kind of simmering? What kind of brings them back to the surface?
What brings them back to the surface is the warmer temperature. This fall, so in this past wildfire season for 2024, during the winter operation months, we decided to plan and construct. We constructed 87 kilometers of access trail, fuel freeze, and guards. And this winter, what we're focusing on is early 2026 data collection of thermal imaging and the Duff sampling in order to make sure that we're establishing clear priorities for the early spring while managing our own capacity. So we're looking at thermal scanning along with those Duff sampling to see what the codes are looking like in the fall and going into the spring.
Okay, and throughout the summer, we had a couple announcements from the province and the Ministry of Forests talking about some advancements in technologies, some things that are kind of being attempted for how to manage wildfires. Are any of those going to be implemented either this year for overwintering fires or down in the next?
So BC Wildfire, the Prince George area, we're a part of a wildfire detection trial for smoke sensing cameras. The outcome of this trial is currently being evaluated, but the purpose is having cameras to detect smoke from wildfire and provide real-time data to support planning and the deployment of crews. Additionally, this year we used remote cameras to monitor a modified response fire in the Robson Valley instead of doing constant helicopter patrols to monitor growth. We could use a camera. We do use thermal scanning, and those can be done by drones, helicopters, or fixed-wing aircraft. Additionally, the Predictive Services Unit, they have been using satellite imagery to update fire perimeters, and so that was implemented this year because one of the biggest challenges during the fire season is updating and having accurate information of how large our fires are, because normally we use a helicopter to tightline the whole perimeter of a fire, and that takes time, versus we can use satellite imagery now to get more frequent updates. So those are some different advancements going on.
Okay. And what would your recommendations be for residents of Northeast BC? Obviously, it's easy to keep fires in mind in the summer when there are so many cropped up, but is there anything that they should be kind of keeping in mind when considering overwintering fires, fire smart measures, even in the winter?
I think it's good for the public to know that although there's snow on the ground, that we are continuing to monitor and plan, and if values are at risk, we do have things set up to start pushing fire guard even through the winter. You can stay informed by using the BC Wildfire app. Another way to be more fire smart around your house is practicing safe burning. So whenever possible, it's good to burn piles where there's still snow on the ground or the ground is frozen. You can avoid building your piles with that deep organic matter. You can repile and burn your pile in, and once your fire is out, it's a great practice to put water on the fire, because the same premise of overwintering can occur on winter piles. So if they're not completely extinguished, it's a really good idea to go look back at your piles in the spring to double check that your pile hasn't resurfaced.
All right. Thank you so much, Emily. I appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks.
That was Emily Baker. We'll be right back with Trina Gower on This Week in the Piece.
It's Canadian Tire's Black Friday sale.
With the lowest prices of the year.
How low can we go?
Limbo again?
Shop the Black Friday sale at Canadian Tire and save up to 60%. November 27th to December 7th. Conditions apply. Details online.
Ford City Chrysler's November Madness is on now. Ford City has been proudly serving the Peace region for 28 years, and right now you'll receive a free 10-year powertrain warranty with a purchase of any in-stock 2025 Ram half-ton. That's right, a 10-year powertrain warranty. Or choose from Ford City's great selection of all-wheel drives, new or used. They have it. Save today with November Madness on now at Ford City Chrysler, home of the new 10-year Ram powertrain warranty.
Service On Site is excited to announce their distribution partnership with Applied Industrial Technologies, suppliers of industrial parts. Visit Service On Site today, your locally owned and operated service and parts supplier. ServiceOnSite.ca.
Merwin Optical's biggest sale of the year is here. From December 1st till the 5th, buy one pair of glasses and get the second pair free. Specialty lenses have additional charges. All ready-to-wear sunglasses are 30 to 50% off. They direct bill to all major insurance companies. So it's a perfect time to use up your year-end use it or lose it insurance benefits and get a spare pair for yourself or family member. For more information, visit them on 101 Ave, Facebook, or Instagram.
The gods have spoken, and they demand collectibles. Olympus Cards and Collectibles, where the legends of trading cards, figures, board games, and rare treasures come to life. Whether you're chasing down epic Pokemon pulls, rare Magic the Gathering cards, or divine board games, Olympus is your sacred ground. Join the pantheon of collectors today. Visit Olympus Cards and Collectibles, where every visit is a heroic quest. Across from the Totem Mall in Fort St. John.
CDN is your trusted industry leader in Fort St. John for solutions in industrial electrical, instrumentation, automation, renewables, and more. Learn more about CDN at cdncontrols.ca.
Living room, dining room, bedroom, home office? Brad's Furniture and Appliances offers a large selection of beautiful furniture for every room in your home. Sofas, sectionals, and recliners, dining room tables, sets and cabinets, beds, dressers, and nightstands, plus desks and bookcases for your home office. Browse their collection at bradsfurniture.ca.
Brad's Furniture and Appliances in the Northgate Mall and also on Facebook. Better call small.
Uniquely Fort St. John and for an amazing cause. The Fort St. John Home Hardware is doing it again. They've teamed up with SJA Promo and Fort St. John Co-op Group to bring you our Fireman's Advent Calendar. Over 500 calendars are available for $25 each, and we've raised over $30,000 in the past 3 years. All proceeds go to FSJ Firefighters Charitable Society, so get yours today at Home Hardware Building Center, Fort St. John. Here's how.
You can watch this show live on Facebook, catch the replays at energeticcity.ca, or be part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Dub Craig. Dawson Creek Firefighter Capt. Brooks Gower was responding to a car crash on October 29th south of Groundbirch when he was hit by a passing vehicle. This is on the Highway 97. Gower was thrown across the highway and needed multiple surgeries to repair the damage throughout his body afterwards. He recently returned to the Dawson Creek Hospital to continue his recovery after spending several weeks in Prince George. To talk a bit about the experience from her perspective, we're joined now by Captain Gower's wife, Trina Gower, who joins us from Dawson Creek on the phone. Trina, thank you so much for making some time for us this morning.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So why don't we talk a bit about the day of? I mean, this happens to Brooks, You know, when did you first hear that, this had happened? Brooks was quickly, I assume, rushed to hospital. Take me through that a bit if you can.
Sure. So I'm a meditator and I live a life of natural wellness. So I spend my mornings in my sauna and I do some meditation and some yoga routinely. And when Brooks is on night shifts, he normally comes home and kind of meets me at my space and says good morning. Mm-hmm. However, I was a photographer for 25 years, and I just recently did some portraits for the Dawson Creek Fire Department. And as I was kind of wrapping up my morning yoga session, my phone rang, and it was Chief Marcel Capel calling me. And because I was in kind of a daisy, relaxed state, I immediately assumed he was contacting me about the portraits that I had done.
Yeah.
But not realizing that it was only like 10 to 8 a.m. And so I said, "Good morning, Mars." And he said, "Hi, Trina. No, not really." And there was a pause, and my heart dropped, my gut sank, and I just said, no, because it's the call that every firefighter wife never wants to have. Mm-hmm. And I knew in that moment that that's my turn. It's my turn. I have to have this call. So I got up immediately, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? And he said that it was critical. He was still with us. However, he was actually at the Chetwynd Hospital, and they were doing everything they could, and or on his way to the Chetwynd Hospital. Regardless, the team was doing everything they could, and everything was bad, was really bad. But he was confident that he was in the best hands, and that they were actually taking, every active step to do what they're trained to do. So I said, okay, I obviously need to have a shower. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. They said, we're sorry, we cannot get you there because the roads are so bad. It's glare ice. The rescue trucks are out to other calls. There was other calls going on in other directions. 7-car incident out in Farmington Fairways area. Yeah. And with the glare ice, there was just no way that they could get me to him. And I said, I got to get in the shower. I don't know. So I get in the shower, and as I jump out of the shower, thinking, okay, I got to pack my bags. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. You're in shock. You have no idea what to do. You have no idea what to feel or how to prepare. And my kids are adults, so I was doing this alone. And then as I was getting out of the shower, I looked out my bedroom window, and I saw the red chief firefighter truck driving in my driveway. Yeah. And again, my heart just dropped, because like in the movies, that means that they're coming to tell you that somebody's not here anymore, right? So my heart just dropped, and I ran to the door, and I opened it. I'm like, nope. And he said, no, you're okay. He's still with us. I just didn't want you to be alone. So he sat with me, and he, was on the phone with all the calls, but he said, I'm staying with you until we get this figured out. And my adult son, we called from work, and he came to be with us. And then Deputy Chief Todd Pickett booked us some flights. And at that time, he was going to be flown to Prince George, that we knew of, but there was a chance he was going to be flown to Vancouver General if it was bad. So we had to prepare to be in Vancouver General or Prince George, so we didn't know where we were going to land. So Deputy Chief Todd Pickett booked us a flight to Prince George, but we had to go from Grand Prairie to Calgary to Vancouver to Prince George. And as luck would have it, I was praying that he would actually get sent to Vancouver, because then I knew he would be in the top-end care of our province if that was the case. Yeah. And he actually did not go to Prince George. Or he did go to Prince George for a short period, about 4 or 5 hours. And luckily, we had a Prince George fire member join him there and stay with him. But then he was transferred to Vancouver General, and we were there for 3 weeks.
Okay, so did he just come back then from Vancouver, or did he go to Prince George and then back to Dawson Creek now?
No, he just came back from Vancouver General, so he was only in Prince George on day one for about 4 or 5 hours.
I see. Okay.
And then he was entirely in Vancouver.
Okay, so you've basically all just got back to Dawson Creek earlier this week. Okay, I see now.
Yeah.
The day of, the sort of manner in which this happened, he was hit by a passing vehicle while responding to, a crash. take me for a second through what you thought when you heard that, because as you said, a firefighter's spouse expects this call at some point. You kind of mentally prepare for it. But when you heard about the manner in which it happened, did that surprise you? Did that make you angry, frustrated? How did you feel when it wasn't, he was, I don't know, in a flaming building, but instead he was hit by a car passing the scene of a crash, obviously going, too fast for the situation, whatever it happens to be. How did that make you feel when you heard that?
Well, I was angry at the beginning, of course, but I wasn't surprised because in this industry, we hear bits and bops of stories from people in the industry, and they are always saying how many close calls there is on the highways. People drive too fast often. People are, frustrated driving, aggressively driving, and even from this last bit of experience here, hearing all the first responders, whether it's ambulance, fire, police, all the people we've been engaging with, it's a common statement. There's so many close calls on the highway because people drive with great unawareness. They're not paying attention to themselves. We often hear people say, "Oh, it's not me. You got to watch out for the other guy." Mm-hmm. Right? You hear that. We all probably have said it. We all probably think it. But at the end of the day, we all need to start paying attention to ourselves. And are we driving to the best of our ability? Because if everyone just took a little bit closer look at their own behavior, their own mental state, their own awareness, less things like this would happen. So I was angry briefly, but then I was not surprised. And I guess I just returned to the idea of, my husband signed up to be a firefighter. In no way did he deserve this, of course, at all. Mm-hmm. However, we inherently know this is one of the consequences, and to no fault of their own do these people go in against very dangerous situations all the time. Mm-hmm. So that's why my kind of plea to the public is, if we all do a little bit more self-evaluation and drop our egos a bit, drop our gas pedals a bit, and just see what we're putting out into the community and universe, and pay more attention to how we can make life and the world a little bit better. I think that's all we can do.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to Vancouver now. I assume it's kind of like the next day at this point that you're all kind of in Vancouver. Brooks is there. The kind of situation is continuing to unfold. At what point did you know or have a reasonable expectation that Brooks was going to recover or that he was going to be okay? Did that take some time, or was there some time where you still weren't sure?
It took a few days because it took me 17 hours to get to my husband from the incident with all the flights and his transportation. He was flown by helicopter from Chetwynd to Prince George, and then he was flown by plane from Prince George to Vancouver. So I didn't actually get to connect with him till 1 o'clock in the morning the next day at the Vancouver emergency. Mm-hmm. And it happened at 7:30 a.m. the day before. So it took me a long time to get to him. When I got to him, he was still in his kind of raw form. He hadn't made it to surgery. His wounds were covered, but you could see his skull was stapled shut. He had staples all over his legs. It was pretty gruesome to see. Day one was the accident. Day two was the 8-hour surgery. He had 1 8-hour surgery. And then by day 3, he actually started giving up. So not his vitals, but his soul. Like, he kept saying to me, I can't do this. I'm sorry. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And he was letting go. And we were really lucky to have a former firefighter friend there from Dawson Creek who lives in the area, joined us.
Yeah.
And him and I were both going, uh-oh, this is turning. And he goes, oh my God, this isn't good. And then it was kind of a critical point where his doctor saw us in despair and begging him to kind of come back and fight it out. And she said, Brooks, you need to know you are in critical condition. Everything is broken. You have a lot of broken bones, and it is not good, but it is not life-threatening at this point. You need to be here. And she basically gave him a finger wag and a good old talking to, in her way, this young 40-something doctor.
Yeah.
And she did it in a really kind of firm, poignant way. And he just kind of turned his neck a little bit and looked and said, "How are the Blue Jays doing?" And then we just laughed. We were like, "Oh my God, that's what he, okay." So from that point on, he decided to fight. That was day 3, almost day 4.
Wow. And we're now kind of a month later. His recovery's ongoing. He's had more surgeries. Tell us a bit about that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trina.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but no, he hasn't had more surgeries.
Oh,
He's
okay.
just had the one 8-hour surgery, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I know there was a story that came out from Energetic City here just a few days ago. I think they talked to you about kind of giving an update on his recovery. I don't know if there's much else to say or if there's been any updates since then, but you know, how's Brooks doing now? Where's he kind of at in his recovery?
Well, he's doing physio pretty much every day, but the truth is he's in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So he's in the stage of full pain, full body pain. All the bones are starting to reconnect and grow. When we were down in Vancouver, we had a visit with the psych doctor right out of the gates, and the psych doctor informed us that with any major trauma like this, depression would kick in at the 2-week mark, and PTSD would kick in at the 4-week mark, and at the 4 to 6 week mark is the reconstruction of the bones and the healing. So there's a whole bunch of goalposts we have to hit with all of these phases. And right now it's pain. Mm-hmm. So he's not very comfortable at all. And it's, the mental struggles are kicking in, and we know it's going to be a long journey. So we're just taking it kind of day by day, week by week right now.
Absolutely. As part of that story, I think you had said, here's what people can do, because, people want to help if they can and whatnot. One part was, I think you said, send texts or messages, don't show up unannounced at the hospital. But also, if people want to donate, there's kind of a place you'd like to see those donations go if people want to help out. Is that correct?
Well, a couple companies and people have asked, so we've just directed them to the Firefighters Charitable Society in Dawson Creek, and they're kind of managing everything on our behalf, on Brooks's behalf. Mm-hmm. So you can easily reach out to them at 782-9898 or pop into the Dawson Creek Fire Department. And just another simple thing people have asked, like, what can we do? Yeah. And I just suggested that even gift certificates from the Dawson Creek Health Food Center, because we're going to have a year of pain management, mental management, all these different things. That's another nice thing if it speaks to you, or, either of those two options are lovely and very helpful.
All right, Trina. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to chat with us about this. I really appreciate it. And obviously, I wish you and Brooks the best as you continue on this road to recovery. Thanks for making time for us today, Trina.
You're welcome. Take care.
You take care, too. That was Trina Gower, the wife of Captain Brooks Gower, the Dawson Creek firefighter who was injured responding to a crash near Groundbirch. And that, as it happens, does it for our show today. Big thanks to Trina Gower and Emily Baker for joining us. And thank you very much for tuning in.
You can listen to this show again by checking out the podcast at energeticcity.ca/podcasts. We'll store this and future episodes of the show there as we make them. Also, check out our other locally produced podcast, Before the Peace, as well.
That's our show. I'm Dub Craig.
And I'm Caitlin Coombs. We'll see you next time.
Join us again next Friday morning at 10 for another edition of This Week in the Peace, your weekly talk show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Or you can listen to this podcast again at energeticcity.ca.
Christmas shops and stay at the Sandman